Okay, and welcome everybody. And I would like to particularly welcome our guest here today, Karen Taft, who has been at the Cancer Support Centre for over 8 years now. And Karen, you are a very experienced complementary therapist and our client advocate as well. But how did you get into complementary therapies?
Oh, that's a weird one, Ali. And thank you for having me. Years and years ago, I went to an aromatherapy party, of all things. It was done very much along the range of like Tupperware parties are done, but it was essential oils. And it was really interesting. And I just got hooked from there, started dabbling a little bit myself. But my background has always been in administration, and I was a systems administrator for quite a few years. Got extremely stressed with my job, and a lot of friends used to say to me, why don't you do some other train to do aromatherapy and stuff? I said, well, if I had time I would, but I haven't, so I don't. And I eventually did get the time, so it's because I got so stressed, so anxious, I more or less ran away from my job, I think, could be a better way of putting it. And I trained as an aromatherapist, and I think that was probably my therapy for getting me better. Mm-hmm. So when I'm dealing with people with stress and anxiety, I really know where they're coming from because I've been down that road myself.
Wonderful. So that was the first thing you got involved in, but you've got quite a wide range, haven't you?
Yeah, that was that's classed as my main discipline, if you like. Mm-hmm. I then did a course on massage for special needs. Because I didn't come into this industry early in life, I didn't want to go down the beauty route. Mm-hmm. I thought, being a more mature lady, I would go, I wanted to help people and do things that way. So I did another course, which was a massage for special needs, which just helped you and gave you a little bit of an understanding on how to adapt any therapy that you do to somebody who has particular needs. Mm-hmm. So that was very helpful. I then had, because I qualified in 2004 and I started working as an aromatherapist in 2005, I decided there was an advert at St Giles Hospice for complementary therapists, and I thought that'll help me to get experience, especially in a different field to going down the beauty route again. I've had contact with St Giles because my dad was in there, so I know how they work, and I worked for St Giles in the complementary therapy department for about 11 years. Uh-huh. Which was very rewarding, and it also gave you so much, you really had to be thinking on your feet, and you had to work individually with each person. And it was just nice to give something to someone who really needed it at that time. So then I started working at the centre, and I've been there 8 years this month.
Amazing. Yep. Now, one of the things that you do that none of us are really that sure about what it is Emmett. So yes. Emmett. How do we even pronounce it? What is it?
It's called the Emmett technique. Yes, and it's named after the man that put it all together, who is named Ross Emmett. As far as therapies go, it's a very new one, really, because he's brought it over, well, and taken it around the world now, but a lot of therapies only get the name of the person after perhaps they've passed away or something like that, where Ross is a very active leader, if you like. He's such an interesting man. It's well worth Googling him to get so much about him, because he's just amazing. I've been very lucky to be able to train under him on a couple of occasions, which is just mind-blowing, which is probably one of the best ways to explain the treatment, because I first went to it's like an introduction to a therapy, and then I went on to a one-day course which gave you some very basic moves on what to do, which was like with as with Reiki, Reiki 1 you can use on friends and family. You could, with Emmett, you can use the first 12 moves you're given on friends and family, but you're not a qualified practitioner. After I'd done that one day, I was just totally smitten with the whole therapy and couldn't wait. I thought, I've got to be able to do this, because you can see the potential in how much you can help people.
Mm-hmm.
And there's now even doctors. I mean, some of the training that I did was with doctors, physios, sports therapists, chiropractors are even switching to it. So it's very, very versatile, and it can work. It doesn't work all the time for everybody. It really depends on the whole situation. You literally take in the person as a whole, which makes it truly holistic. And you just watch the person, how they're moving, and you just, the way that you work with the person, they tell you where they're hurting and you work on that area. The beauty of it is the person doesn't necessarily have to be undressed. They can remain clothed, although light clothing is very helpful because it helps us to be able to feel things better. And in some cases it can be an immediate release, because very often it's a tension in a muscle that's just pulling everything out of line and causing that pain that actually causes that problem. And if we can release that by a very light touch, then that pain can, in some cases, instantly go. And when someone's been in pain for a long time, and then you can get rid of that pain or lessen that pain in just one very, very light move, the look of amazement on people's faces is so rewarding.
So it does kind of sound a little bit hard to believe, doesn't it? That you can do that. So what the kind of things that our clients might sort of think about, oh, actually Emmett might be good for it. What kind of things have you helped our clients with so far?
Well, we have, if anyone who has back problems, it can be very useful for back problems, back pain. With carers, if they're leaning over, looking after a person who's perhaps in bed or less mobile, then we can help to release their tension. If they've got tension from the situation that they're in, they're more likely to pull a muscle, and it can sort of go gradually downhill from there. Whereas if they come and have a quick Emmett treatment, we can probably release that muscle, and then they're, you know, sort of okay to go again, really. And it helps a lot in that way. We can help with neck and shoulder restrictions. There's nothing worse than if you wake up first in the morning and you've got that horrible stiff neck and you can't turn your head, you can't drive. You know, you're sort of too frightened to sort of move. We can release that quite quickly, and most discomforts. Knee and ankle restrictions we can help with. We also do a manual lymphatic drainage, which can be very useful for people who have been on their chemo. If they're feeling really sluggish and tired, even after you've had a cold, you can sometimes, you know you've got rid of the cold, but you just feel that sluggish, that you just want to get back to doing what you were doing, but you can't, you feel too lethargic. We can do this lymphatic drainage routine, in which case you do lie down and you do partially undress, but it's very relaxing treatment, and about the day after you just feel fantastic.
Oh wow.
So It's a very nice one to do. But as a practitioner, we can do the moves, and sometimes it doesn't feel as though it's done anything, and it might not necessarily work immediately. And then other times, it might take a few days.
Mm-hmm.
And then other times we can do something and perhaps thinking, well, I'll just try this, it might not work, and it works instantly, and it still amazes us as therapists. So it's one of those unknown therapy situations, where with some therapies what the outcome's going to be. With Emmett, you don't.
So does that mean you don't know how long a treatment might take as well?
Well, we allow an hour,
Mm-hmm.
but very often we don't need the hour. It can be something quite quick, but it does help with just so many things. I mean, I've only given you just a couple. We could probably go talk about what Emmett can do for people all day, and I still wouldn't cover it, because it also helps with emotions.
Mm-hmm.
What a lot of us don't realise is a lot of our muscles are responsive to our emotions. And so when we perhaps touch a muscle, if we can see someone is really holding on to an emotion, but it really needs to let go, we can work on a particular muscle. All of a sudden, all those emotions will release, but only if they're ready to release them. That's the thing. So it's not one that someone's got to think, oh, I don't go to them because I don't want them to know that, because it doesn't work like that at all.
Yeah.
But it does work very well.
Sounds a fascinating therapy. I'm sure you get lots of clients who are going to want to come and have a treatment. Is there any sort of last little thought around it that might help people remember Emmett for the future?
It's actually known as Emmett technique, the chameleon approach to the body, because you're literally changing all the time to the circumstances you've got in front of you. So it's not one set thing that you work with at all. The minimum, I think what is very strange with Emmett is when you come in for a therapy, we might ask you a load of questions normally about how you're feeling and all sorts of things. With Emmett, we ask just a couple of questions. Mm-hmm. And the first one is, where is your pain? Now, that can be anywhere, and that is our starting point.
Yeah.
But it might not be the finishing point, because one thing can take on to another. So we're forever changing with what we're presented with. Thus the chameleon approach.
That makes perfect sense. Well, thank you so much for your time, Karen. And hopefully you'll get lots of new clients as a result of this.
Well, I would say just come and give it a try. It's always worth a try.
Brilliant. Thanks, Karen.
Thank you, Ali.